Welcome back to Artificial Evidence. I am your host, Owen Carver, and as always, the algorithm knows. The small town of Gadsden, Alabama was the kind of place where people left their doors unlocked, where neighbors knew each other's names, and where crime, when it happened, was small and predictable. That is why the events of February of 1984 remain one of the darkest and most baffling mysteries in the town's history. The Dalton family was, by all accounts, as average as they come. James Dalton was a high school history teacher. His wife, Carol, stayed home with their young daughter, Rebecca. They had lived in the same modest home on Fairmont Lane for nearly a decade, and nothing about their lives suggested that they were anything other than an ordinary family. But on the morning of February 12th, a co-worker noticed that James had not arrived for school. No call, no excuse, just an empty seat where he should have been. By noon, calls to the Dalton home went unanswered. By late afternoon, a neighbor, concerned by the lack of movement at the house, decided to check in. He walked up to the front door, knocked, and waited. No response. He knocked again, pressing his ear to the wood. Nothing. That was when he noticed the door was unlocked. What he found inside was something that would haunt him for the rest of his life. The entire Dalton family was gone. But they had not just disappeared. Something had happened inside that house. The police arrived minutes after the neighbor's frantic phone call. Officers stepped into the house cautiously, their eyes scanning the eerily silent home. Nothing looked out of place at first glance. The living room was tidy, the kitchen clean, breakfast dishes still in the sink. But then, they stepped into the hallway and noticed something chilling. Drops of blood, small and scattered, leading from the kitchen toward the back of the house. Not a lot, but enough to signal that something had gone terribly wrong. Officers followed the faint trail to the master bedroom. The bed was made, pillows neatly stacked, everything seemingly in order, except for one unsettling detail. The telephone, usually sitting on the bedside table, had been ripped from the wall. The cord dangled, frayed at the edges, as if someone had yanked it out in a hurry. It was the bathroom that told them they were dealing with something far worse than a simple disappearance. The tub was half filled with water, stained pink. A damp towel lay crumpled on the tile floor. And on the mirror, written in what would later be confirmed as Carol Dalton's own lipstick, were two words, "Help us." The case immediately took on a sense of urgency. A bloodhound unit was brought in, and within hours, the dogs picked up a scent leading away from the house. The trail wound through the backyard, past the fence, and toward a dense stretch of woods. But just as quickly as it had been found, the scent vanished, as if the family had simply been plucked from existence. The community was in shock. No one had seen or heard anything suspicious. The Daltons had no enemies. There had been no reported break-ins, no threats, no financial troubles. Investigators combed through their personal lives, searching for anything that might explain what had happened, but they found nothing. The Daltons were, for all intents and purposes, a normal family. And normal families do not just vanish. But then came the first clue. A week after the disappearance, a hunter in a wooded area nearly 30 miles from town stumbled upon something unusual. A small plastic lunchbox, half buried in the dirt. He brushed away the soil, recognizing it as something a child might carry. Inside, there was a half-eaten peanut butter sandwich, a juice box, and a folded-up sheet of paper. He opened it carefully, his breath catching as he read the message scribbled in shaky handwriting. "Please find us." The note was tested, and the handwriting matched samples from Carol Dalton. The discovery of the lunchbox led to a massive search of the surrounding area, but no further evidence was found. It was as if the family had left that note behind as a desperate cry for help, only to disappear once again. Months passed, and the case slowly faded from the headlines. Without bodies, without witnesses, without a clear motive, investigators had little to go on. Theories ran wild. Some believed the Daltons had been kidnapped by someone they knew. Others were convinced they had staged their own disappearance. Some even suggested something even more sinister, that they had met with an unknown threat, something that had left no trace behind. Then, 2 years later, an unmarked envelope arrived at the Gadsden Police Department. Inside was a single photograph. It was grainy, black and white, with creases running through it, as if it had been folded and unfolded many times. But the image was unmistakable. It showed three figures sitting together in what appeared to be a dimly lit room. James, Carol, and Rebecca Dalton. Their expressions were blank, their eyes hollow. They looked alive, but only just. There was no note, no return address, no explanation. Just the haunting image of a family long thought to be gone. Despite attempts to trace the origins of the photograph, no answers were ever found. The case remains open to this day, a chilling reminder that sometimes the most terrifying mysteries are the ones that refuse to be solved. Someone out there knows what happened to the Dalton family. Someone knows why they left that desperate message, why they were taken, and who sent that final haunting photograph. But as the years pass, one thing becomes clearer: the answers may never come. Thank you for listening to Artificial Evidence. If you have not already, be sure to like and subscribe. I am Owen Carver, and as always, the algorithm knows.